morning. Thank you for the introduction. I was going to make a few remarks myself, but that was pretty good. I'm part of an organization called March for Our Lives. We're advocating for gun violence prevention. On March 24th, we had a march on Washington, D.C., and had about 800 more across the world where we basically told our politicians, hey, we're not going to sit around and let this happen. We're going to keep using our voices to fight for change, and that's exactly what we did, and we're still going. We're trying to spread awareness of gun violence in America and also get people civically engaged, get them involved in their communities, and are pushing the importance of voting because every single one of your voices matters. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. As you know, you're sitting amongst a room full of journalists here, and so part of what we want to do is just kind of get a sense for where you were at that moment in time and where you are now and sort of where you're headed. So let's go back to that day. Walk us through that day. What was that like for you, February 14th?
It was, along with 3,000 other kids, one of the scariest moments of our lives. 17 of them never got to go forward with their lives after that day, which is sad, but that's why I'm here. It was pretty scary. I mean, being locked in a room for 2.5 hours, not knowing what's going on, being on my phone. The beauty of technology is that I was finding out everything that was happening while I was locked in that room. It was kind of insane. After the first 10 minutes, the code red was issued and I ran. I was actually outside when it happened because a fire alarm went off. So we evacuated, and then once we started hearing code red, we're like, what? And we ran back inside. And so within like the first 10 minutes of me finding a spot in the corner with my friends and just hiding, I saw on Twitter, on AP, that the shooting of Martin Luther King Douglas High School, and all of a sudden CNN started reporting it, and Fox and all these different media outlets. And so it was insane that I didn't know what was going on in my school, and I was in the school. Everyone else knew what was going on. And so we didn't know how many people were dead. We didn't know who the shooter was until after the fact. But thankfully, I wasn't in any danger. But I knew that in hindsight. And during the moment, no one knew what was going on, where the shooter was. I was in a unique position where I was next to a door that led to this kind of open space between where I was in the freshman building where the shooting took place. And so I was able to hear police dialogue, and there was sort of like little rumors like, oh, this is a drill. But after hearing police speak on their radios and saying like, and cursing, and their sort of mannerisms, I thought, okay, this is not a drill. They're legit. This is for real. And so, yeah, it was something I'll never forget, especially when the SWAT team came into our room, because they went to every room and cleared it out. I never forget when we were given an evacuation route, and I don't know if you've seen footage of the school on that day when people were running out with their hands in the air, but that was everyone. They were evacuating the school, and I'll never forget leaving the classroom. It was actually the band room, and just all my senses were flooded with input. There was helicopters. There was at least 100 police cars or law enforcement vehicles on the side of the street, which is insane because I've never seen more than 4 at a time in the town I come from. And it was, my friend Adam, who's also part of the organization, was like, Daniel, never forget this moment. He'd be asked about it from this day forward, and so I've been crying about it. And it was surreal, and I'm kind of upset I never documented it. I didn't have any photos or videos on my phone. I mean, I do have a brief one, but it's still ingrained in my memory that day.
So you said that you were getting updates on your phone from different news organizations. What other communications were you having? Were you in touch with your folks? Or?
Yeah, so I reached out. Like, I know we're all in group chat, so I was in a group chat with a bunch of alumni, and they're like, hey, is everything okay? We're like, I don't think so. There's should be going on. I was in a family group chat where my sister said, I'm scared. That's the first thing she said in the group chat, and I was like, well, that kind of hit hard. I remember I started a group chat with my brother and sister, and asked them, are you guys okay? Love you guys. It's kind of weird. I thought it was kind chat because I never really express affection to my siblings, and if you have siblings, that's how it is sometimes. But I told them, yeah, I had 2 siblings at the school. And I can't even imagine, like, I know a bunch of parents had children at the school, but my parents had 3 children at the school. That's kind of insane. Think about how they have 3 people they've raised with the potential to get harmed around the school. But yeah, I was texting them and we were trying my siblings, being like, "Are you okay? Where are you?" Luckily, my sister was in the tea production room, which has like 3 rooms within itself, so she was safe, and my brother was in a Walmart because they evacuated for the fire zone. And then my family group chat, my parents were asking if we were okay. Obviously, they were really worried. And then in my friend group chats, we were all keeping in communication with each other, like, "Hey, where are you guys? Are you guys okay?" And we were begging the people that weren't talking, "Come on, respond to the group chat. Don't leave it on Do Not Disturb," like all the other group chats that we put on. But yeah, so I remember in an AP Literature in conversation group chat that we had. One person that was a part of that was Carmen Centro. I was in class with her, sat next to her. She was a good friend, and I remember after the shooting, we were like talking about Carmen because she was a lot of her friends in that group chat. So we were like, "Has anyone heard of Carmen?" And then it was just kind of heartbreaking to see people texting like, "No, this can't be. Like, I'm sure she's in the hospital somewhere." But eventually, we found out that she was killed, and so it was comforting actually to be able to be in communication with all these different people and knowing that they're safe.
So immediately after this happened, you said you guys were locked down for 2.5 hours?
Yeah, it varied. Some people were out of there for, after 2 hours. Some people, because we couldn't leave until the SWAT team came to our room. For some people, I was in a room with administrators, so the administrators let the SWAT team in, but some other classrooms, the SWAT team had to break the class window to open the door. So some people were there some people were there from 2 hours to like 3.5 hours. It varied, depending, because they had to sweep the entire school. So it was kind of that.
So in those first few days after this happened, those of us who were watching it have one view of what happened. What was going on for you and your friends in those first couple days, weeks?
Personally, I was kind of numb to it. I was like, it kind of didn't really hit me that shooting happened at my school, but
because you probably had done drills.
Yeah, it was weird because a month prior, not even actually a month, like 3 weeks, 2 weeks prior, the administration and staff had a meeting about emphasizing school safety, specifically shooter drills. And so in every single one of my classes, my teachers had a brief 5-minute thing where like, "This is where you hide if someone comes on the campus with a gun. This is what we're doing." And so not even 3 weeks later, that happens. And so after the shooting, something that I explained to my parents, because they wanted to be with us and they wanted to make sure their kids were okay, is that, no offense, but I don't want to be with you guys. I want to be with the people that were there with me that day, that understand what it was like to hide and fear and just be able to talk freely, with them about their experience, where they were, how they were feeling. And so we all bonded, and we're closer than ever now, a lot of us, with our friends. And yeah, we were over each other's houses a lot. Like, I remember we had a vigil the next day or the day after, I can't remember, where we had people speak, like Anthony Rizzo, who was an alum of Douglas. And so we spent a lot of time with each other. That's basically what the vibe was.
And in amongst that time, how soon before March for Our Lives starts to take shape? What was the process there?
So I wasn't involved in the initial part of planning it, but it was announced on February 18th, and basically
So 4 days.
So 4 days, yeah. It's actually my friend Sophie's birthday, so she always brings that up every time we talk about it. But Cameron Caskey, he is the founder of this organization, and gathered a bunch of people, all his people he knew that could do something, that could help him take action, gathered on his living room floor. And I saw pictures. I was included in those conversations. I wasn't there personally initially, but it was just basically, what can we do? What are we going to do? We can't just let this happen, have thoughts and prayers sent our way, and then be gone with it, because that's a cycle. That's what happens. Tragedies like these strike, and so we had the idea of a march to march on Washington, March 24th, and sort of we got so much support. Not only just words, but we got funding from like George Clooney and Oprah. They donated each $500,000, which is absolutely insane, to GoFundMe. And so we put all that towards creating this demonstration that will be in the history books. And so that's sort of how it started going. We did a lot of press, just sort of speaking out against this, speaking about this issue, and then eventually when we announced it, we're like, we're not going to let this die down. We're going to make sure that people hear our voices and hear what we want to say. Yeah.
So you organized the marches that took place in Washington and all over the country. How many of you guys had marches on your campuses? Just a couple? Okay.
Yeah. We partnered with every town, which is, I forget what else created. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but we partnered with every town. They helped us put together the sister marches. But our own march, we had so much support, so many mentors, and so much help, and it was absolutely insane to be able to do that in more than like 5 weeks. So it was absolutely amazing, and we cannot thank those people enough to help us do that.
And have you gone back to school at this point too? Has classes started again?
Yeah, so about 2 weeks after the shooting, February 14th, we resumed classes. It was a very slow process to get back into school. All the teachers were very, and we forget that teachers also went through a shooting, so they were also not really ready to get back into curriculum. So a lot of them expressed that, hey, we can go at whatever pace you guys want to go at. We can color rocks for the next week if you want, but we're not going back into actual work until you guys are okay and can do so. And so that was really nice of them. But it was also kind of heartbreaking to see like Carmen. I had two classes with her, and my statistics class, my statistics teacher was like, so hey, there's not going to be assigned seating anymore. And I started breaking down crying, and then he explained like he cannot see that empty seat, Carmen's seat. He can't see that. Like he doesn't want to be reminded constantly that her life was taken away. And so that happened in every class. We didn't have assigned seating anymore. We kind of just relaxed, chill. They were very nurturing of our emotions.
So when you guys started talking about March for Our Lives, did anybody at any point say, not Washington, or that's too much, or you can't do that, or you're just high school students, how can you make that happen? I mean, did anybody try to put the brakes on this from the outside?
No. I mean, no one's really going to say no to you when you go through something like that and you want to do something. We had ambitions and we achieved it, and so it was a barreling train. It was nonstop. We kept going. We didn't accept no for an answer, and I believe part of the reason why we were able to plan it in 5 weeks is because we're teenagers and we want things done now. We don't like to wait on things. So like, oh, we can have a call tomorrow afternoon about something. No, why can't we have a call in an hour? You're not busy. It's still between 9 to 5. And so, yeah, I believe that's a big part of why we got it done so fast.
Were you able to go to Washington? Were you part of that group that was like,
Yeah.
what was that like?
I was actually in the crowd. I was at the front with all the students, and because in the front was like reserved for all the people that went to the school, and it was insane to be with a bunch of my friends and just seeing my friends speak to 800,000 people or 1 million people. I don't know. No one counted.
What was that scene like though? Did you get a chance to like look out and see what was that?
Yeah. So they on the screens between all of them say how, oh, I pushed Miley Cyrus off stage because I had to get on stage, and it was really weird the interactions they had with celebrities and how there's regular people. But between sets, I guess you could say, they showed a shot down Pennsylvania Avenue, I believe it was, and we all started cheering, and we were kind of freaking out because since we were at the front, we didn't see how many people were behind us. And if you get a chance, if you can look at the satellite image, it's really long. You have to see it to see how many people showed up and how long of a line it was down Pennsylvania Avenue. But it was surreal, and to imagine this much support and people came out because they care about this issue and that they care about us, frankly, and all the other kids attending high school, college, whatever. It was really cool.
What do you think are some of the things that have surprised you the most about just the organization and people's response?
The amount of what surprised me the most is, counter protesting. That kind of always is like, okay, like you can disagree with me, but to protest against what we're saying, and that's sort of something that when we kind of sit back on, like, are we doing the right thing? Yeah, we're doing the right thing. We're trying to fight to save people's lives, and so when people kind of protest us and say all these bad things, it kind of surprised me a little bit. But talking to them, be able to have a conversation with them is very important, and understanding their view, because whereas it's kind of shocking to have someone shout at you or say different things, and you kind of want to put your guard up and then not listen to them. It's very important to have that civil conversation and be able to see their point of view.
So talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of people would say that they would look at March for Our Lives and they would say your group is about gun control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys define yourselves as a group that's about getting people registered to vote and being involved in the system. So where's that balance, or where's that part of the conversation when someone says, you want to take my guns away?
Yeah, well, first things first, I don't want to take anyone's guns away. We're just trying to make it harder for bad people to get weapons in their hands. And so the few weeks following the march and the shooting at my school, we were trying to get legislation passed. We were pushing for people to do something, and people in office to do something. And then realized that a lot of these politicians are backed by the NRA. And so they won't change their stance because they're getting money, and they are putting their profit over the people. They're putting money over their constituents. And so we thought, okay, the one way to fix this is to vote them out. And so that's when we became sort of pushing for people to register and get out and vote. Because if you have people in power that don't represent who you are and who don't care about the issues that are important to you, then they shouldn't be there, because they work for us and they're representing us in our governments. And so that's really that's why we started pushing for that. And so this was founded on a tragedy that happened because of gun violence. And so, but right now, leading up to November 6th, we're really pushing for this sort of civic engagement, getting people out to use their right to vote.
And it's not an easy task, because this age group, you guys probably all know it, you're in this age group, but this age group is the least likely to vote. They have the lowest turnout, 18 to 24, the lowest turnout. So when you're faced with that historical data, how do you have that conversation? What are you saying to people your age to get them to not only register, but then to go ahead and vote?
A lot of the times we get, when we talk to people our age, is that my vote doesn't matter because I'm only one person. And it's kind of sad because, of course it matters. There are so many local elections that are determined by less than 100 votes. And don't tell me vote doesn't matter if it's less than 100 votes. In fact, presidential elections are determined by that, like Bush and Al Gore. Although that was decided in the Supreme Court. Florida had a differential of like 50 votes or something like that. And so it is challenging. We do have an advantage that we're also teenagers, so we kind of can appeal to other teenagers better rather than having an adult trying to tell you to vote. But it is kind of hard to make voting and being involved relevant to people my age. And so, I mean, I kind of say, bringing it back to gun violence, I kind of say I'm sad that it took a shooting at my school for me to care about this issue. And I don't want that to happen to anyone else. It shouldn't happen at their workplace, in their school, for them to care about it. Yeah, and one just happened yesterday. And so we want to get people caring about these issues and caring about the people representing them to help fix these issues before the issue really affects them. And so, yeah, we're just trying to change the dynamic, the sort of, I don't know the word, but the aura around voting, because for a while now it's been pushed under the rug. It's like, oh, it's a thing you do, and no one's really pushed the rhetoric that it's important. It's something that you should be doing. It's something you should be excited about, honestly. That you get to use your voice and be part of the democratic process. But yeah, and so it is challenging, but we're getting numbers that show that we're doing something. Not just us, March for Lives, but this whole movement, like I Will Vote, Headcount, all these different organizations that push for voting are really, making an impact, and that's really good to see.
So you mentioned a couple times it's students talking to other students. You're a freshman in college right now,
Yeah.
and yet, there's people. Laura mentioned, former President Barack Obama has talked about the work that your group is doing and has been, very mentioned it very favorably. There's other organizations, folks that have not had the same opinion of your work, and you guys have gotten death threats, and there's been just, how do you balance all of that when you're 20?
18.
18?
Yeah,
That's even crazier?
Yeah, the oldest person in our group is just turned 21 actually.
Okay.
But I mean, we have each other. That's on our road to change that we had over the summer, where we went across the nation and we, got people involved in our issue to vote. We met with survivors of other shootings like Aurora, the Las Vegas shooting, and then Sandy Hook. We met with parents of that, and that's like really tough, hearing their stories. And even though we have a story of our own, and not only those shootings, but we also met with, we went to Oakland where we met with kids that deal with this. Like, I talked to a 12-year-old that comes home with bullet holes in his wall, and he's used to that. And I have a friend, Bria, who's in Milwaukee, and she falls asleep to gun shots, and it's like white noise to them. Like, they cannot fall asleep unless they hear gunshots. And so it's hard to hear those stories and then also, see some backlash, but we have each other, and that's really important to have, whether it be a group of 2 or 3 people or a group like us, to be able to just talk about our feelings. When someone's down, we'll pick them back up, and just having that group mentality, because no one's alone. You need to have people there to support and help you, and you do the same for them. And so that's really what helps us and keeps us going forward.
Do you guys, you probably see a lot of it. Do you try to just ignore any of it, all of it, some of it?
I mean, yeah, we see a lot geared towards organization. I mean, I know my friends like David, he gets a lot more of it, but yeah, we should ignore it. Sometimes it's comical, that people would go out of the way, some 30-something-year-old would go out of the way to harass a bunch of kids. Like, don't you have something better to do? But yeah, we should just ignore it, because there's nothing behind it. They're just kind of mad at some of the things we're saying, but we know what we're saying is right. Maybe some of it's a little misguided or wrong, or what we're trying to do is just save lives, and you can't take that away from us.
So we're a few months out yet from the 1-year anniversary, and journalists love anniversaries. What's the recommendation, or what would your hope be, as journalists and reporters are undoubtedly going to go and show up at Marjory Stoneman Douglas on that day? What do you want them to be thinking about?
Well, number one thing we don't want them to think about is the shooter. We get a lot of complaints, and a lot of times after a school shooting, or shooting in general, like a shooter's glorified, or his face is plastered everywhere, his name's said aloud. We don't want that. But I think what we want is sort of, we should remember those who were lost, you know, but also see what happened, what the good that happened after it. And it's a kind of a tough question. I mean, I'd like to see some journalists are pretty good at their jobs. They're pretty respectful and caring about the subject that they're interviewing, but a lot of them are kind of quick to ask these questions that some of the students are frankly not ready to answer. Some really explicit questions. So, I mean, just taking care to realizing that there's people that are still traumatized with the event. And just kind of, you know, being able to take that shooting and make it not just another statistic, but make it sort of a shooting that that helped drive the conversation forward with gun violence and help elicit change. And so just kind of that story behind that.
So you mentioned driving the conversation forward, and a lot of these guys will tell you that their faculty members would say it's not their job to shape a conversation. Mm-hmm. So what's your response to that? That, you know, reporters would say mentioning the shooter's name, you know, some of these other things, that's just part of balanced reporting. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, you want to be respectful of you want to be. It is kind of like a delicate situation. I mean, but it's a story that you're telling. You know, you're trying to inform the public of what happened, and what happened after is part of the story. It's part of what happened at your school and what this whole movement is never again moving, this March for Our Life movement is. And so, I mean, they're not shaping the story, they're just telling that story and sort of showing people what happened and sort of leaving it up in the air of what can happen next.
When you look down the road, 5 years, 10 years, you know, hopefully when you're a filmmaker, it seems odd, I'm sure, at your age to think about legacy, but what is the legacy that you're looking for, or that your group is maybe, you know?
Well, this race isn't a sprint; it's a marathon. So, a legacy. I mean, there have been many groups that have done what we're trying to do before us, so we cannot just disregard their work. You know, we didn't start this. We're getting past the baton, and we're continuing forward. So the legacy is more like we want it to be sort of, this is a time where young people stood up and said, my voice matters, I want change. And so we want that to be inspiring for other young people in the future to be able to say, they could do that, they did that, I can do that too. I'm not just, you know, going to be shoved under the rug. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in and say what's important to me.
How has social media helped with that, giving you, a student at a school in Florida, a larger voice?
So much. Twitter is godsend. That's how I get my news, but that's also how we share a message to everyone. And it's been instrumental in getting this much traction. So being able to have a following, being able to have people listen to what you say, being able to communicate with them, is so important. I mean, that's what made this shooting different, I believe, because like this, if we go back to the Columbine, they didn't have that technology. They had flip phones. I wasn't born yet, but
we have flip phones.
Yeah, exactly. Flip phones. So, okay, but yeah, social media has been instrumental in gaining support and just being able to spread our message to more people than we see a day, or more people that we can do at a given moment. And so if like one of us sends out a tweet, it reaches not only you guys if you follow me on Twitter, but so much more people, and then we can retweet, and it's so helpful to be able to reach that many people, thousands of people, millions of people sometimes. And so it's really useful, and it's great, honestly.
So you mentioned Twitter, so give everybody your Twitter handle so they can follow you.
Okay, so it's Daniel Williams without an A in the Williams. It's weird. Daniel Williams is taken. Fortunately, it's a really common name. Which just kind of sucks. But that's my Twitter handle if you want to follow me. Yeah.
And what sort of information will they get from you or your group?
Well, if you follow us on March for Our Lives, you see all the stuff that we're doing. Right now we have a Vote for Our Lives tour, so we're going to different college campuses around the nation and just getting people excited to vote. In the states that you can vote early, we're busing people to the polls and getting them to vote early. And you just keep up with what we're up to. And then for me, I kind of just retweet a lot of things I think are important and eventually tweet remarks. I love quote tweeting things that make me sort of angry and just be like, this is not okay. But yeah, Twitter's a beautiful tool. I like to congratulate the people that made it.
So we talked a little bit about there was another event happened yesterday at a synagogue in Pennsylvania. When you hear those headlines again, and they come on a fairly routine basis, what goes through your mind when you see that or hear something on TV about an event like that?
It makes me really sad. I avoid it. I read the synopsis of what happened, but I don't like delving into it because I just know that it's just a lot more people that went through the same thing I did. In fact, with they're probably more traumatized than I am because I never saw any shooting. They did in that synagogue, and it's just a repeat of these events, and it's heartbreaking, but it kind of fuels us to keep on going. And like, this is what we're fighting for. So that doesn't happen. That doesn't reach the headlines over and over again. And it's heartbreaking to know that more people are going through what we went through.
Thank you so much for coming today. We're going to open it up to some questions that I'm sure you guys all have. The microphones in the aisles here. You mentioned the Vote for Your Lives too. Are you doing some more stops along the way?
Yeah, I don't know any of them. I mean, we have, there's I don't know, so much information in my head. I mean, we just were in Miami yesterday, now we're in Atlanta today, and then tomorrow we're going to Sarasota, Florida, and then after that, I'm not sure, it's on our website, marchforlives.com, if you want to see it. Yeah.
Questions from some folks? Roomful of journalists. I know it's Sunday morning after you all went out last night, but go ahead.
Hi, I'm India Yarbrough from the Loyola Maroon in New Orleans. You said you're interested in filmmaking. How do you see yourself using that to, positively impact politics and those issues that you do care about?
I mean, like right now, I create videos that I believe I'm trying to inspire people to right now get out and vote, but also to, delve into issues that they care about. I think because I'm an artist, so whereas you see my friends on TV making speeches and organizing people, I'm not the best at that, but what I'm good at is art, and so using my creativity to help inspire change is really what I'm all for. And so, going forward with that, I want to make films and make these pieces that will sort of explain some issues or just hopefully move people and get them up and out of their seats to do something.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sarah Ingram with the Bartholomew at Marshall University. I wanted to ask you about the media aspect of like the day of and the following days. Because a lot of times when traumatic events happen, people try to tell reporters in the media to stay away and respect people's privacy, but you guys are like kind of the opposite, and you were really pushing yourselves out there. So I was just wondering if there was anybody in the group when it was starting out, like saying like maybe we should just tell the journalists and tell the reporters to go away, or where that fire came from, I guess.
I mean, not really, because we knew that's how we would get our story and what we had to say out. I mean, the people that didn't, like I know some people in the group that are in the group now weren't part of the group when it initially started because they were with their parents or they couldn't handle it and they wanted to stay away. And so, I mean, it's kind of unique because since we seeked out the media sort of, I mean, they were there, so, but since we did that, they were kind of paid attention to those people from our school that wanted to speak out and use their voice. They didn't really pay attention as kind of but they didn't really touch on those people that wanted to be left alone really and to themselves and their families and their friends. So that was really unique. I mean, it was kind of annoying school and have a bunch of news people lined up filming us. But I mean, they have a job to do. I couldn't really tell them off.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Clark. I'm from Mercer County Community College in New Jersey. My question for you is, I work for my school's student government. We do a lot of voter registration event type things. We walk around to a lot of students at our school and I speak to them and some of them say, I don't want to vote or my vote doesn't matter. I know you spoke to this a little bit before, but in terms of talking to younger people and people our age, when they say something like that, what are some of your main points and what things do you emphasize to show them that that does in fact matter?
I make it relevant to them, you know, because especially like around our age, some people don't really care about anything but what affects them. And so by making it relevant to them, making it so like telling them that yeah, some of these things affect you and your vote can help you. I don't know, like college tuition, that's a big one. There's a lot of politicians out there that want to give more aid to students that are in debt or that don't have the money to go to college. So making it relevant like that and just sort of connecting it to them, because if they don't think their voice matters, they don't want to vote. A lot of times it's just because, I mean, if they don't vote, what's going to happen? Nothing, because they're not going to be affected by it, or so they think.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Laura Platte from the Piedmont Roar, and my question is, y'all have started this national movement and have done a fantastic job of getting your message out there. And I know that most of us, with the exception of the advisors, are all college students, and we all put in a lot of hours to put out publications and struggle to do that in our schoolwork. So how have y'all done all of this and still managed to be students and carry on with the rest of your lives as well?
I mean, it's hard. A lot of us are in high school, so not anymore. All of us graduated, but some of us are in high school, so it's easier to manage high school when you're not taking really rigorous courses. For me personally, it's kind of hard. I have a paper due tomorrow, and so I gotta finish that. But I mean, it's really important to us. So if we're gonna make time to be able to do these things, some of us aren't in school. Like I have a lot of friends back home because we're based now that aren't in school. They're taking a gap year. They're dedicating their time to this. So that's how they do it. The way I contribute to the organization is I do all the social media, the graphics, the videos, all the digital aspects. So I'm able to do that away. I don't have to really do community outreach. I still do it at my university, but yeah, if it's something's important to you, you'll make time to contribute to that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anderson from Louisville. My question is, you recently put out a music video, and it was it was,
Vicious cycle.
yeah.
Yes.
What role did you guys play in the production of it, or like?
So it was made by a bunch of people, but what we did was we sort of guided the direction where we wanted it to be. Initially, it was more focused towards school, and it still is, but we tried to make it more where this doesn't just happen in schools, it happens at the workplace. It happens, frankly, it could happen anywhere. So we were just sort of there to help guide the message that came out of it, and also provide them with things they needed, like graphics or different things. But yeah, we're really just there to make sure that video really stayed on message and made an impact to the audience it was reaching.
Is that something you're looking to continue in the future?
Yeah. I have a passion for filmmaking, so I want to keep making things like that relate to emotion and get people inspired and driven to care.
Thank you, and thank you for being here today too.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Asya Rahman from Michigan in Arbor, Washington Community College. I'm the graphic designer of the newspaper, and I have a question about election. What would you say to someone who doesn't like neither of the choices in the election? They're just picking the one they dislike the least.
I mean, that was a big problem in our presidential election in 2016. We started choosing the lesser of the two evils. I mean, pick pick the person that, yeah, if you don't like both, pick the one that represents you the most, that stands for the issues you care about. Because although you may not like them in some aspects, they might have a stance on the environment that you like, or gun violence that you can agree with. And so, yeah, it is difficult. I mean, voting, if you're registered as a Democrat or Republican, you can vote in primaries, or in other parties too, you can vote in primaries, which you can then elect the person that will run for senator or these different positions. So you have more choices, and so you can pick the person that you like the most and get a nice candidate. So you can do that. But if you're sticking with someone that you can agree with more than the other person.
Thank you. And one last question.
Hi, I'm Diana Asta with TNC Media at Irvine University. I'm more curious about how you said you have a passion for filmmaking. Do you see that continuing in documentary work so that you can push issues like this, or going into actual film industry filmmaking, like movies and such?
It's a good question. I'm still battling that question myself. Because I'm doing social justice work right now, and that's where I'm using my passion to help contribute to that. I mean, I'm down for doing documentaries, but I kind of want to be a feature film director. But I mean, I did talk with professionals in the industry within the past couple of weeks, and there's so much to the industry, like there is to every other industry. So there's so much paths I can take to so many paths I can go in that I think I'll be able to still contribute to this movement and be able to do other things like that, whether it's documentaries or not.
Thank you.
Okay, please help me in thanking Daniel Williams for sharing